Okay, we can go. Welcome everyone to the meeting of the Sleepy Hollow Local Development Corp. Today is September 3rd. Quick agenda here. First off, we've got the meeting minutes from September 9th. Edits.
I revised myself. I was actually here, not by Zoom, so. By Zoom.
Through the special note.
It's that. So I move we cut the meeting.
In favor, say aye. Aye. Approved. Expenditures. Got a lot of them. Most of them are the usuals. Couple, Dan, you may want to just give us a quick overview of the change order. There's one, and then Woodward and Burns.
Yeah, so
Metro North.
Yeah.
Those are the three I saw.
Woodard and Kern, this is their first invoice for the work that they've been doing on the skate park courts promenade project. So remember that the design contract for them was $360,000. So that's just their, that work is basically happening going back to about June, I think they started through the end of this year. Sean's Lawns, that's just a typical payment rec for the work that they've been doing related to material acquisitions, utilities, getting the wall to a point where they're starting to go vertical. The Metro North Railroad is to basically re-up the force account that's been extended to this point. Some of that's due to just the length of time that this project has been ongoing. And then I think that pretty much covered the ones that would be, maybe somewhat out of the ordinary.
But what would include, what's the gauge of triggers there? Do we have anything set up?
I mean, it's monthly billing. They have there is a.
Those deliverables pools.
There are deliverables, but I don't think the billing is a component of where they're at delivery wise, deliverable wise. It's more it's more project needs. So they in the invoice itself, they've completed, several smaller tasks. But the largest task, which is the completion of the design, that's what'll be slowly chipped away at.
Those were the drawings you worked on. But they had something.
That's part of the ultimate deliverable, yes.
Any other questions on expenditures? Favor say aye. Aye. Very good. We've got a resolution for a change order.
Yes, and this is
change a little, right?
right. So what is, I believe, included in the packet is change order number 4 and change order number 5. Change order number 5 is the one that has the plan for the street lighting and launching parking. That will be removed from this resolution, and we'll bring that back at our next meeting. There's still some validating of the unit costs that the contractor proposed on there. So there's a little back and forth between WSP and the contractor to refine, and sharpen the pencils on that number before we have something that we can approve via change order. And change order number 4 is a fairly large total. About half of that is the demolition of 190 Beekman, right, that we're pulling forward. And the balance of that is quantity adjustments with the contract related to the extension of time, or various earthwork, like items.
Or. Classified station, it's a. It's an instructor.
Sure.
Change order for the first two items. That the application,
No,
no, so what is the,
that is, so the unclassified excavation reuse covers any material that they excavate on site and then whether they restockpile it or reuse it. So a bulk of that number, most all of it, is the surcharge pile that was cut down to the future, finished grade in DPW. And then some of that material, all of it really is stockpiled in various locations on the site. But then ultimately, a bulk of it's gonna be placed behind the wall to build out that roadway extension. Some of it's used for just the roadway extension, and banquets themselves.
okay,
And the balance will remain stockpiled on site. This number can only be finalized at the end of the project when they do a final as-built survey.
Okay.
So for right now, the numbers are higher because there's been tons of earthwork, but any excavation that they've done as part of the sewer is tracked separately, so that's not included in any.
so was this,
Well, yes, there was more artwork that was performed than was originally conceived. That's not uncommon for, when you're digging underground or, it's easier to quantify things where you're building vertical and you can add up. So it's not entirely unexpected, but,
But it's essentially just a labor cost.
it's, well, there's a unit cost, right? So, it's labor, materials. I mean, the material isn't just it's dirt that gets moved around, but it's the equipment and labor, yes, to perform that. This is a what?
And this is a number.
That's what's the quantity there, what's been added to so they've exceeded the contract quantity.
You're saying that
It's the final quantity won't be known until the project is done and they do a survey that shows. We cut X amount here and it went all these other places and they do like a cut fill analysis, but for somewhat obvious reasons, they can't really do that.
What goes back?
And that's another part of the right, I mean, you excavate and stockpile, it's a different volume than when it ultimately gets placed and they get paid for the quantity that is finally placed and compacted, which is typically a smaller number than, when you excavate it and place it somewhere else.
What is the Metro North?
So that there was a line item, that's partially, mostly being used to offset the increase for the force account. That's what that item was essentially intended for in the beginning, Metro North Greenberg Fields. It was just never used at the onset of the project. But there's a couple quantities that have been adjusted downward. To just reduce the total impact of the
100,000.
to the field change.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is that?
The same, that's just reducing, we have a field change that's 300,000. So they're reducing that and adding it to the requirements as an offset.
Does this come on Village of Sleepy Hollow or letter?
As probably because that's what WSP just copy pasted and put in there.
It's to you from WSP and Sleepy Hollow.
Sure.
That's odd. Other questions on the G?
Will you take the page, Scott? Yeah. Come.
What's that?
I had questions about Scott.
Sure.
But, so this, you said was primarily something by the grant.
Yeah.
I noticed the project limits, I know that we've had a discussion about some street sidewalks, something, is that,
That's not included in here at this time.
They're doing some of that.
Well, the village,
That's that pipe relining,
Yeah.
they're just taking it out.
Yeah, we have tips money that's available, and I think Kevin's gonna use that for the south side of. But we could do that with tips money.
So
So, it's state funding for roadway curbing sidewalks and things.
So the city will do.
Yeah, the village would do it. It's out of the scope of this project, so we could do the other side.
It's what was ultimately, I guess, approved by the village was I think they call it Sharrows, the bicycle, it's a bicycle shared lane. Yep. That is in there. It might not be as part of this, it's part of the phase two plans, yeah. This is just the lighting components and those parts.
Might that change with the $2 million rate of the Beacon Street,
The
bike lanes, the whole stuff, or do we know yet?
well, I don't think that's not gonna change what is going through the East Park now.
No, I'm not sorry, no.
like now.
Okay. Can I go into the resolutions? Order number 4. Second. Aye. Good.
Dan. Consultant report, please.
Start as always with what's going on down at East Parcel. The contractor's been advancing some of the sewer repair work that doesn't affect. The current temporary bypass. They've been removing some of the old cradle and prepping pile for some new work. And as well, they've been staging the base wall units in the footprint of the Clinton Street extension retaining wall. We're expecting an approval from Metro North so that that'll start going vertical probably before the end of this week. Some of the work upcoming will be mostly related to the precast wall construction.
That's all here.
Say that again?
Is it all here?
No, they paused deliveries they're at close to 70% of the units, so they have more than enough for
To start.
probably about 4 weeks. And then as they gain some additional space on site, they'll bring in the last over the span of maybe a week or two. To be able to get all the way to the top. There's some drainage tie-in work that they have to do at Continental Street that will require a temporary closure. So for that time, DPW and Metro North would have to use debris. It's probably only a couple of days. That's still probably several weeks off. And then similarly, water tie-ins at Beacon Ave, that's being coordinated with the village water pipe lining project. And that will require some lane closures for them to trench across the street. That's in the on the horizon. We talked about change.
So what do they stub out?
They have to connect into, yes, they're creating a loop from Beekman all the way to Continental Street.
Oh, that's all part.
Yep. This week, we're also expecting a revised preliminary plan for that shows not just how far the actual skate park has been advanced, but those surrounding elements as well. So that'll be used to coordinate a public info session to solicit feedback, and then ultimately take that plan to the village board for approval. It'll likely be within the next 2 weeks, so probably like the first week of October, just to make sure they can get it noticed. Use the village website and whatever other That is a component of the LWRP plan. Have to make sure that it has the right language and enough time. So that will be very soon. Do a quick update on where we're at with some of our budgets. As far as LDC operating, we are 25% through the fiscal year. We're about 30% of our operating budget spent. That's mostly due to a couple of large extent invoices that came in at the beginning of the fiscal year. But that should balance out, again, trying to project 9 months into the future. At least right now, it looks like we'll still on track to stay within our budget. As far as some of the budgets related to the inspection work for WSP and RU. WSP is at 55% budget complete. They're significantly behind on invoicing. So in reality, they're probably close to 75%. While the schedule is at about 80% and progress is about 82%. So to me, that says we're doing good budget wise. Couple more items. The
Rue too, what,
new RU was in the same they're in the same ballpark. They were, I want to say right around 80-85%. But they will finish their scope of work before WSP finishes theirs. And I can follow up with a more exact, I just can't seem to find it on the budget. One of the last things, the EFPR, we'll do a presentation. It's a summary of the LDC's audit that was recently completed. So we'll have the typical, adoption, probably some other, annual resolutions to do at the first meeting in October. And speaking of October meetings, currently we are scheduled for October 14th, which is Columbus Day. So I would propose rescheduling that to October 7th. And then the rest of the schedule, I think can remain unless there's any other.
so our next meeting is when?
Our next meeting right now is scheduled for October 14th. But I would propose moving it from the 14th up a week to October 7th, which would be two weeks from today.
Again, I'm not back at notifications.
You just lost October 7th, you can't.
Okay.
Another day.
Was there a meeting?
The first, October 1st.
Is that the one? Trustee meeting?
The executive session,
But that's that.
the Tuesday.
It's next Tuesday. We don't need a forum. Or do we? Well, if all the board members be here, then.
Okay, who can make October 7th? Okay. Ben, we can do it. Let's see.
We'll change the.
Celebrate at night. So you're out for the 7th. Probably. What about, we don't have to meet on Monday. You have a meeting on the 14th, you mean the 15th? What's happening with this meeting again? Just to be clear, this is what the auditors will present.
So
this meeting.
yeah, the main thing would be the auditors, and then there would also be approval of the change order 5,
Change order 5.
inviting. Those are the two. That would really be the main reason for next meeting.
First. So then. Since
Oh, and go 4 weeks. I mean, I think that would be fine. Well. I mean, and if we wanted to do a very short meeting for, you know, to do the change order approval of, you know, one resolution and see if we can do the presentation then as well.
About Wednesday, the 16th.
Fine.
is the joint meeting at 6 that night?
Believe that would be
Okay.
at 6 o'clock.
It's not. But if everybody is here, if you guys had a forum, then you can just go to the auditor.
It's on.
Well, wait, so you would stay
I
here?
would. Or I can use. Everybody's review.
Sure.
I won't be back to the 12th.
We did 6 or 6.
On the first at 6.
Is there a reason we can't?
16th, it sounds like everybody can be here and you'll just have to cut out to go to your trustee meeting. Or no, the 16th, everybody's fine. All right, so our next meeting is the 16th. Aside from the, what's that? Yeah. Aside from the meeting first with the trustee. Okay,
Then it'd be October 28th, November 18th, December 9th. So
that works out, right? And tentatively, I think. You're 28th, we'll put you in tentatively.
No, 60 we
Okay, we're good. Any other old business or new business?
Well, there is still, I believe, room in Jenny's scope to apply for something. I don't know if we had identified anything for that. But we know that it is a very competitive grant, and it would have to be the right. You know, like a good project, a good fit, to,
That's the one we applied for.
we've done, yeah, two years. One for both times for demolition and the first time with demolition and portion of the walls.
It's, I was reading through it, and it's basically brown field, so
Mhm.
it's all the material involved. So maybe instead of demolishing building.
Well, we did apply, I mean, what we did apply for through CFA this year
Yeah.
was actually basically the balance of the space. For the multipurpose field and
Yeah,
those areas. That was, I think, like a $3 or $4 million when you include the local match component. You know, under 3 different grant sources, LWRP and 2 other ones. So we should, I mean, in another month or 2, we'd be finding out if any of those are hits.
apply for the same.
I could talk to Jenny,
When is that due?
Restore New York. I don't know off the top of my head. I wanna say we've typically, it's been around the end of the year, like maybe December or January by the time those applications go in.
And then we wait a year.
And you can find out. You only find out.
Why don't you talk to Jenny? See if they. Might as well, if we've got something that can fit into that. Application, let's do it.
Big
In general, it's like there's a huge amount of stuff left on the 29th. Thinking of as a whole.
Well, that's the challenge. It's a tricky grant. It's. We've already applied via the other grant, so. She would know best what will potentially fit into this one.
says reduce commercial investment in local housing stock too. So improving local housing would be a part. Reducing commercial investment. Maybe we can find some name. Part of that we can talk about. That. Like the amphitheater, other commercial.
Okay, you get back to us.
Oh, intent to apply is due October 20th. But it's an intent to apply.
Yeah, it's usually just a letter and it's still you have another month or something.
Jenny used to. Submit those on the last day. Okay, I'd like to go into exec session. We've got some legal matters and direct negotiations to discuss.